you guys doing today? I hope you guys are having a blessed and prosperous day or night, wherever it is that you're at. And if you are a fellow book lover such as myself, or you love watching reviews about books, hit that subscribe button and let's get to talking about today's book. So today's book is yet another memoir that I'm about to review, and I think you guys can sense the vibes, you know what I mean? And of course the makeup and the shirt kind of give it away, but it is none other than To Selena with Love by Chris Perez. And I love, this is one of my favorite memoirs of all time. Like, out of all memoirs that I've read or listened to or whatever, this one really, I absolutely love it. And of course, I am a diehard Selena fan. I've seen the movie a million times. I've watched the series on Netflix. And of course, I read Chris's book. I actually read this one maybe three different times. And the first time I read it, I got it from the library, but I actually went and purchased the book about 2 years ago. And I've had it ever since. And I ended up reading it, like I said, 3 times. The first time was I had to return the book to the library, but second and third time I got it, I read the one that I bought. But it really holds dear to my heart, this memoir in particular, because Chris, of course, in case y'all don't know, Chris Perez, the man who wrote the book, is none other than Selena's husband / widow. He was married to Selena for 2 years, going on 3, before she tragically passed away. He talks about his life with Selena and how they came about, how they met and whatnot. Of course, he was the lead guitarist in her band, Selena y los Dinos. He was a lead guitar player. They ended up falling in love. Of course, Selena's father / manager, Abraham, was opposed to their romance. And Chris says it all in his book. It really touched me how the great lengths that they went through to be together, and it's one of those stories, one of those forbidden love type of thing. But, I love it because Chris really broke down how his and Selena's relationship came about. It's really a beautiful story. He also talked in the prologue, like right before Selena had passed away, they have talked about wanting to start a family and have children. Of course, Selena wanted a big family and wanted, believe it or not, she wanted 5 kids. Could never be me. I'm glad I stopped after 2, but she wanted 5 kids. Hey, to each their own. But they were wanting to purchase a land. Well, no, they already purchased the land because they wanted a house built from the ground up and pretty much start trying to have a baby. I think from what I saw in the series, she had a doctor's appointment wanting to get her birth control thing taken out so her and Chris could start trying for a baby. And I hate that was taken away from her. You know what, Yolanda, it's been 20, almost 30 years, and everybody still hates your behind, just so you know. And side note, Yolanda is actually up for parole next year, 2025. Let's hope she don't get out, y'all. Let's hope she don't get out. She needs to just stay her behind where she at in prison, all right? But anyway, back to Chris's book. It's just really, he talks about too that, Selena wanted, like I said, this big old house built from the ground up, and the land that they purchased looked over the ocean and the waters and stuff like that. It was a beautiful land. It was a beautiful land. And that's where they wanted to start their family, and I really wish that we could have seen that part. I really wish Selena could have been alive and have her children, and by this time, 2024 going on 2025, she would have already been a grandmother, you know what I mean? But yeah, I really wish we could have seen that from her. So the introduction also talked about what made Chris want to finally write his book about his life with Selena was when he received a phone call from one of his good friends named Carlos. Now, Carlos stated that he had a dream that Selena came to him in a dream and asked how he was doing and things like that. And he pretty much explained to her that, you know, he's really worried about Chris, he's very concerned about Chris, you know, things like that in that nature. And she told Carlos in the dream that, you know, don't worry about him. I got him, you know, he's gonna be cool, he's gonna be straight. This is what Carlos told Chris. And after hearing that gave Chris the confirmation to write this book about his life with Selena, and the rest is history. So I'm gonna go back before Chris joins Selena's band. Before he was in Selena's band, he was in this other band with another Tejano singer. Her name was Shelly Lairs. I think that's how you say her name. Correct me if I'm wrong. He was in her band for a little bit, and during that time, Chris was new to the Tejano music world. Granted, he did had to listen to it and bear with it because when he was a kid, because that's all that his grandmother would listen to, and he couldn't stand it. And he basically, you know, couldn't stand it, but because the bands that he liked during that time was like AC/DC, Def Leppard. He wanted to try to form a band with those kind of vibes, you know what I mean? But I guess he just needed to start somewhere, whether it's a Tejano band or not. So that's where he started at, and that's just how that transpired. So one day he heard Selena sing on, I won't say the radio, but Shelly came and showed him an album of Selena's band. And it's like, hey, have you heard this cool band, the Selena y los Dinos? And he's like, no. So he looked at the front of the album cover first and saw Selena's picture, and of course she was beautiful, of course, you know. And then he saw the band's picture in the back of the album, and it's like, oh yeah, this seemed like a pretty cool band, you know. Especially the way they were dressed. They were very coordinated, you know. They were dressed like how other Tejano bands dress, I guess. I was not, well, no, I'm lying. I was alive around that time, but I was a baby. I was probably still in diapers when Selena became more known around that time, because this was like, I guess, late 80s, early 90s. I was born in 89. So I was probably still in diapers around that time. But, so Chris, you know, listens to the album, he listens to a few Selena songs, and he knew that she had talent. She had the talent, she had the chops, she had the gums, she had all of that in one. Shelly invited Chris to her house, Chris and the rest of the band, to her house to watch a Selena performance. Mind you, if y'all don't know what a VHS or a VCR is, Google it, do your research, because we going all the way back, right? So, Shelly had one of Selena's performances on tape or whatever, and you know, they all gathered around and was watching, you know, her perform. And Chris, I mean, I'm pretty sure Chris was trying to be modest about it, but I'm pretty sure that's, you know, he was very in awe watching Selena perform, you know, and he was just very mesmerized by her beauty, just like any other man would, you know. But he never ever would have guessed that Selena would end up being his wife one day. I mean, I probably would have had that same mentality too if I was a man, watching somebody on TV performing, and I'm like, never would have thought in a million years that this person will be the person I would end up marrying. But lo and behold, he did. But you know, Shelly was kind of, I wouldn't say like super envious of Selena, but she stated that Selena and her band was about to sign to EMI Records around that time. So Shelly was kind of hoping that she and her band would get a record deal as well, which I assume they did, you know, of course, you know. And okay, so here's a fun fact for y'all. I hate to bring Yolanda, the Porky Pig itch, who unalived Selena, but prior to meeting Selena and wanting to be a fan club president to her, Yolanda actually approached Shelly Lair's father, who was also her manager as well, about starting a fan club or whatever. And of course they declined. You know, her father declined, like, nah, we don't need none of that. Which, by the way, looking back, that was a good sign. That was a good sign. Shelly and her father and the rest of the band during that time dodged a big fat bullet messing with Yolanda. I wish Selena would have dodged that bullet too, but you know, that wasn't the case at all. So yeah, Chris, back to the story, back to Chris's book. Chris was just sitting there watching, and you know, and he saw how great of a performer Selena and her band was, and he was also looking at the album cover that Shelly has showed him, and he looked to where the music was produced and whatnot, and it's none other than Selena's brother AB. AB, of course, wrote pretty much all of Selena's songs and produced them, and just pretty much brought the songs all together. So Chris has said that AB was everything that he wanted to be, as far as being a songwriter and being a producer in music and things like that. And who knew that, you know, that would be the stepping stone of him getting there, you know? So one day Chris was in the studio putting some music together while he was trying to practice a cover on a Pat Benatar song for the Shelly Lair's band that he was in. And AB, well, no, let me backtrack. We scratched that. Shelly had mentioned that Selena was performing that night, and suggested that everybody, that they all go check her and the band out or whatever, you know. But Chris got a surprise of his own. AB came to the studio to now Chris thought, when he saw AB, Chris thought that, you know, AB was just sitting there chit-chatting, you know, whatever, shooting the shit with Shelly and him. He wasn't really paying him no mind, because Chris is the type that once he's doing something music related, that's his main focus. He didn't care about whatever conversation they had going on. But lo and behold, AB was sitting there, you know, watching Chris play his guitar and the music and stuff, because AB at that time was searching for a lead guitarist that had more of an edgy rock thing vibe going on, because he said that him and, you know, the Selena's band was looking to eventually branch out into the English language type of pop rock type of vibe later on in the future, and AB was looking for someone in that nature. So Chris agreed to go to the performance, why did I say performance? Chris agreed to go watch Selena's band perform with the encouragement of AB and the rest of his band with Shelly and two of his friends, right? So they go check out the band, and Chris at that time, he wasn't even paying Selena no mind. Now I don't know whether to believe him or not, because who would not want to be focused on Selena? I mean, come on now, she's the star of the show, the star of the band, but that's neither here or there. But no, Chris has stated in his book, the first part of the chapter of the book, he said that he was more focused on the other parts of the band, which was AB, Suzette, Pete, Joe, Ricky. You know, he was just more focused on the band, and, you know, more in tuned, trying to get more in tune in the band and whatnot. He was just kind of like watching how they performed and how they did things while they were on stage performing. And he, you know, during that time, Selena's band was, you know, already popping, you know what I mean? So then AB, after they performed, AB asked Chris, like, hey, what did you think of, our performance and stuff like that? And Chris was like, y'all were amazing. Y'all were really good, So finally AB asked him, he's like, well, how would you feel about joining our band, And Chris was very hesitant at first because during that time, Shelly Lair's band wasn't doing that well. And also too, Chris was looking to do his own band with two of his friends, and he didn't want to be, he didn't want to turn his back on them because those are his friends. He wanted to be loyal to them and whatnot. He just was like, nah, I don't know, because I want to do this thing with my friends, blah blah blah. So then Chris told his friends, like, hey, AB just asked me to join him and Selena's band, but I don't know, because I'm trying to work on this thing with y'all. I don't want to make y'all mad. I don't want it to turn my back on y'all. But one of his friends, I forgot his name, said, like, bruh, we good. Go in there and make magic happen with Selena's band. If it were me, if I was in your shoes, I probably would have been gone by now with them. So Chris felt relieved that, his friends weren't too upset that, he was asked to join Selena's band. And that's what it was. Chris talked about how he was on a plane to Acapulco. During that time, he had been in Selena's band for about a year. And AB, which is Selena's older brother, treated everyone to that trip in exchange for writing the jingle to the Coca-Cola commercial, their upcoming Coca-Cola commercial. And Selena was the face of Coca-Cola during that time. I've watched a few of those commercials, and I will have to say Selena is a natural born talent. Like, she really didn't have to have like any type of coaching or anything else like that. Or even when it comes to dancing, she didn't need no choreographer. She didn't even need a voice coach, none of that. She was just a naturally born talented person. And that's one of the things that I love about Selena myself. You know what I mean? Because all these celebrities that I've seen in the past would need all these training and stuff like that. And I love that Selena didn't need all that because she was just naturally talented, But anyway, at that time, Chris has stated in the book, the first part of the first chapter, he stated that Selena and him weren't really that close. In the beginning, of course, they were more like, just acquaintances, of course. Anytime they did hang out, it was always in groups of people within the band, which was, AB, who played the bass guitar, Suzette, which is Selena's older sister, she played the drums, and then Pete, which was one of the backing vocals and the backup dancer, and the pianist, the keyboardist, should I say, Joe Ojeda, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, and another keyboardist, Ricky Bella. So it was all of them. So whenever Selena and Chris did hang out around that time, it was just within the group of the band, whatever. They always, during that time, they always were just kept things professional. And Chris has also stated that during that time that he was more close with Selena's older sister, Suzette. They were more buddy-buddy, you know what I mean? And believe it or not, I like to think that Suzette had a crush on him before she met her husband now. But that's just neither here or there. That's neither here or there. But I believe that also too, Chris was kind of nervous on the plane, but Selena, just held his hand, pretty much the entire trip there, just as reassurance that things are going to be okay. They're going to land safely. That's it. That's all, and but it's just pretty much they kept their relationship or their friendship, their co-worker, friendship, whatever, to just strictly professional. And at that time, Selena too was still very young. She wasn't even, from what Chris has stated during that time too, she was barely even 18. But Chris was not that much older than Selena, so I'm not even trying to say all that, because like I think he was maybe 2 or 3 years older than Selena, whatever, but you know, they were still close in age. But I know that Selena was very, I guess you could say she was very sheltered for most of her childhood and teenhood, because during that time she was just often performing somewhere, so all she had was, as close to her, was her family. So at the beginning of the next chapter, Chris had talked about after their trip to Acapulco, him and Selena's friendship kind of grew. They kind of got closer, you know. He stated that they were talking on the tour bus one night, and Chris was laying, mind you, they were bunk beds in the back of the bus, back of the tour bus. Let me mind you, the name of the tour bus, Selena named it Big Bertha. But anyway, they were in the where the bunk beds were, because Chris was laying down on the top bunk, and him and Selena was just talking and whatnot, you know, just shooting the shit or whatever. And Abraham came busting up in there like he was SWAT team and walked in the back of the bus where the lounge area was, I believe, and you know, and it was so awkward right there, you know. And later, he asked Selena, like, what was y'all doing in there? Like, you know, and Selena was like, nothing, we was just talking, you know, whatever. And he's like, well, it didn't look like y'all wasn't doing anything, or it didn't look like y'all was just talking, blah blah blah. I don't want, you know, nobody get the wrong idea that there was something going on between you and Chris, blah blah blah. You know, because Abraham had that strict rule that no band members should be getting involved romantically with each other, type of stuff. I mean, of course, AB, Suzette, and Selena were brothers and sisters, but besides them, like Pete, Ricky, and Joe, it wasn't none of that. Abraham was not having that. And he also had a rule like nobody should be doing any type of hardcore drugs, no alcohol, none of that, which was a good rule to have, because, you know, you don't want to be playing, you know, and while you're drunk or high or whatnot. So I mean, that's a good rule to have, you know. Despite the rock and roll industry, a lot of rock stars struggle with drugs and alcohol, but I'm glad that Abraham put his foot down right then and there, like, nah, ain't gonna be none of that going on. So yeah, at that time, during that time, you know, Abraham at the time trusted Chris to be with Selena alone during that time, without, you know, thinking that there was going to be any hanky-panky going on. I know I must be old. I must be super old because I just said the term hanky-panky. But there, you know, he trusted Chris with Selena. If Selena want to go out to eat or grab something to eat, he'll tell Chris to go with her, to, you know, keep her company, because, you know, and just pretty much just go with her just to protect her from, you know, idiots around or whatnot, or crazed fans, you know, during that time. So that was before things went left. You know, knowing that he had these growing feelings for Selena, they expressed their feelings for each other one day at a local Pizza Hut. Because if you don't know already, one of Selena's favorite food was pizza. And I love me some good pizza too, just like everybody else in the free world. But they expressed their feelings for each other at Pizza Hut, but they knew that they had to keep their romance a secret, because we all know her daddy Abraham was not having that mess, you know. There was of course, you know, I knew that Selena didn't want to hide their romance, but, you know, she didn't want to, but she knew she had to, just to keep peace within the band and with her dad, and, you know, just keep things in peace and keep them under wraps, you know what I mean? And it worked for a while, and Chris did say, he even put in his book that they had their first you-know-what encounter. And he was very gentle with her. He was very, he was just very sweet and very, very, I'm not even gonna go into full detail. They did, just say that they did the do. They did the do. That's all I'm gonna say. But and then I think they went to perform either later on that day or the next day, and like I remember it was so like while they were on stage, you know, they played it cool. Like I remember they didn't even make no eye contact with each other. They didn't do anything. They just pretty much just played it cool. And I know it was I'm pretty sure it was kind of awkward for them at first when they were performing on stage after they did their thing. You know what I mean? But you know, it was, I mean, because I really have to take Selena out of that sweet and innocent type of thing, because she's an adult and she did adult things. You know what I mean? Chris even stated that back when they were in Acapulco, you didn't have to be 21 to drink there. You can, I don't know how old you have to be. Let me know in the comments of how you have to be to drink in Acapulco. I've never been there, so I don't know. So if you all been there, let me know the age at the time, or if they changed it. I don't know. But yeah, during that time, you didn't have to be 21. And so Selena did adult things because she was an adult. So I kind of had to take my mind, because the way I see her and the way I'm sure other fans see her as this sweet, innocent, can't do no wrong type of woman. But at the end of the day, Selena is an adult who did adult things. And despite the fact of her and Chris not being married at the time, at the end of the day, she was an adult. One day, Chris and Selena got a close call one time. They was in the back of the bus where the bunk beds were. They were kissing and making out or whatever, and somebody walks in, and thank God it wasn't Abraham, her father, but it was one of the keyboardists, Ricky Vela, walked in on them. And they were kind of freaked out for a bit, but you know, Chris played it cool and was like, hey, what's up, Rick, what's going on, blah blah blah, you know what I mean? And he was trying to, you know, tap Selena a little bit to let her know, like, hey, it's okay, you know, it's just Rick, you know, it ain't Abraham, so we should be straight, you know what I mean? So when they went to the hotel room, you know, when everybody got settled in and whatnot in their hotel rooms, because Chris usually shared a hotel room with Ricky anyway, while Joe and Pete shared another hotel room, and Selena shared a hotel room with her parents and Suzette. So, okay, of course, Ricky and Chris were talking, and Ricky was like, hey, you ain't got to worry about me. You ain't got to worry about me saying anything to Abraham. That's none of my business. But you better watch yourself, because, you know, you don't want Abraham to catch y'all, and, you know, and then he ends up firing you. You get kicked out of the band. You know what I mean? You better watch yourself. You know what I mean? Because had that been Abraham walked in on you and Selena, that would have been your behind. So, you know, finally, you know, Ricky was saying, like, you know, I think Ricky was thinking how Abraham was thinking in a way, because out of all of Abraham's children, he was more protective of Selena because she was the youngest. And I kind of get it, but then again, I don't get it, because at the end of the day, Selena is a grown woman and she can make decisions on her own. She's not a child. And that's one thing Abraham needed to realize. Like, last I checked, Selena's a grown-ass woman. She can take care of herself. She can just be with who she wants to be with. If she wants to bang Pete, Joe, Ricky, get a choo-choo ran on her, whatever, that's her business, not his. You know what I mean? Even though I know Selena is not even close to being like that. I know she ain't like that. Not just because reading Chris's book, but just the vibes that I get from her, whether she's performing on stage or she's doing an interview, the way she presents herself all together, she definitely don't give me them vibes. But I'm just saying that if she were to have that ran on her, whatever, that's her business. So who is her dad to sit there and tell her otherwise? But at the end of the day, you know, no parent is perfect, and regardless of how old you are, your parent is always going to be your parent. You know, they don't stop being your parent because you're grown, you know. But still, Abraham should have just lay off her because she is grown and she can make her own decisions. But still, Ricky gave Chris that warning, like, hey, you better watch it, because, you know, be sure you be on your P's and Q's, because you don't want to get caught or nothing like that. So, but a lot of people, I won't say a lot of people, but Abraham pretty much didn't want Selena to get hurt or harmed in no any way, which I really think, I honestly believe that Abraham should have kept that energy that he had for Chris, because he kind of stereotyped Chris in a way, pretty much saying that he was like, he gave like punk rock, you know, vibes and stuff like that. Because I think he initially did not want Chris in the band to begin with, but with encouragement and pleading from AB, you know, Abraham gave in, you know what I mean? So that was just my, I mean, it was pretty obvious that Abraham really didn't want Chris in the band to begin with, because he gave off those punk rock, you know, band vibes, and he felt like Chris didn't really fit the image that he had in mind for Selena y los Dinos, you know what I mean? But Chris is a good guitar player. You know, you cannot doubt that. You cannot ever say otherwise, because I've heard Chris play one of the little parts of the Bitty Bitty Bum Bum song, and it was his guitar riff, and it's bomb, and I absolutely love that. But you really can't doubt the talent that Chris has. So what Abraham can say what he want, but Chris was a really good asset to the band during that time. So still, like, he really didn't want, you know, Chris and Selena be together, because he felt like Chris would be a bad influence on Selena type of thing. But that was way far from the truth. As I stated before, Abraham should have had that energy for Yolanda. He should have had all that energy for Yolanda, because Yolanda was the one who sent Selena to the upper room. All right, not Chris. So, you know, and I know Abraham has a lot of regrets now, because he stated a long time ago that had he not had Selena go into the music industry so early and so young and whatnot, she would still be here to this day. And that could possibly be true, you know. So, but you know, you really can't change the past, even though we all wish we could change the past. We all wish that we can have Selena here to this day, you know, and still performing and doing, you know, type of things. I'm pretty damn sure that Selena would have been 53, because she's a year younger than my mom. And today's Selena, if she would have been alive today, she would have been 53 years old, and I think she would have still been looking fly. Look at her fly self. And she would still be performing with her band. She would have been performing, you know, still. And I think too, because right before she passed away, Selena was on her way to making an English language album. You know, she was about to go into the pop English genre of music. And I would have loved to have seen that. I would have loved to see how she would have progressed in that era. You know what I mean? I would have loved, not just me, but all her other fans would have loved to see her progress in that era. You know, after that whole fiasco, Chris and Selena had to make it really to the point to where they really had to keep their relationship on the low, so her father wouldn't find out. So then, whenever they could possibly get any alone time, Selena would tell her dad, like, hey, we're going to the store, we're going to get something to eat or whatever, we'll be right back. You know, that was their way of getting away to spend some alone time together. And that is so Romeo and Juliet right there. That was so, I would have to say that was absolutely on some Romeo and Juliet shit right there, I would have to say. There was even a time where they snuck off and him and Selena went horseback riding. Now let me remind y'all, Selena was very spontaneous, she was very outgoing, she was very, like, you know, adventurous as well. So they went horseback riding, they just did a lot of a really crazy, spontaneous stuff during their time together, secretly, you know. But as time went on, I think other people found out about the relationship, AB, even Selena's mother, Marcella, things like that. And Marcella, she was a really big supporter of Selena and Chris's relationship. You know, she gets it, because for the simple fact Selena didn't get a chance to really have, like, you know, that kind of experience. But of course, granted, she did have a boyfriend at one point in time before her and Chris got together, but still Selena didn't really have that chance to experience real love, you know what I mean? And Chris has stated one time when they were loading up the bus one day after a gig or something like that, and he outright told Ricky or somebody, one of the dudes in the band, that he felt like he was falling in love with Selena, and he saw him spending the rest of his life with her, getting married, having children, things like that. And you know, they were all very supportive. They were all getting used to the idea of them being together, so they were okay with them, you know, pursuing things further in a relationship. So that's one good thing, especially coming from Marcella. You know, AB at that time already had his own life. You know, he had a wife. He had his first wife, Vanjie, and their 2 children. So like, he really didn't care like that. He saw Chris as a cool dude despite what his father said or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, he didn't care, because like I said, AB had his own life, his own family, and his own, you know, people to worry about. So he didn't, I wouldn't say he didn't care what his sister Selena did, but he looked at it too as her being grown. You know, she gonna do what she wanna do, type of thing. And I'm like, and I couldn't even argue with that. But that, now AB didn't really outright say that, or Chris didn't outright say that that's what AB thought about the relationship, but that's just how I looked at it, especially when I saw the Selena series on Netflix. That's the vibe that I got from AB about how he felt about his Selena, his sister's relationship with Chris. You know what I mean? He's like, hey, you're grown. You know, I got my own life, my wife and my kids. You know what I'm saying? That's y'all. You know what I mean? And you know, that's what's up. I wish more people had that mentality when it came to their family members. As long as they're not, I look at it like this. AB was like, hey, as long as Chris is treating Selena right, he ain't abusing her, he ain't cheating, he ain't doing all this other mess, he's cool in my book. So I'm gonna just skip over to where finally Abraham does find out. Abraham eventually finds out about Chris and Selena's relationship due to, believe it or not, Selena's sister Suzette. She snitched on her and Chris. I forgot how that came about, but I have to go in and read the book again and see. But Suzette ended up snitching to Abraham about Chris and Selena's relationship, and Abraham was like, hey, that's it, you're fired. You ain't about to come in here and mess up something that I worked so hard for. You know, I'm not going to have this type of mess going on in my family. You know, you're not who I really had in mind for my daughter. You know, you just give off this vibe that, no, this is what he said. He called Chris a cancer to his family. No, he wasn't. Yolanda, the porky pig bitch, was the cancer to y'all's family. Once again, he should have had that same energy for Yolanda. Chris was the least of his worries, you know what I mean? So for him to call Chris a cancer to his family was extremely crazy. Like, come on now, sir. If he really would have paid attention to Chris and his personality, I mean, yeah, Chris had a few hiccups and things like that, but nobody is perfect, you know? And Chris, you know, he was really the more quiet type, you know. He was like I said earlier in the video, he was very reserved. He really didn't say too much. He just pretty much stayed low key to himself. And of course he, you know, hung out with the band and whatnot and stuff like that. But like for Abraham to call Chris a cancer to the family, that's just, no, that, you got that all wrong, buddy. You got that all wrong, all wrong. So after that came about, Chris gets fired, and he tries to get in through other bands, try to work with other bands, because he got fired from Selena's band. They temporarily replaced him with another guitarist. They did a few shows with that guitarist, and it was when Selena was very depressed for a while, because, you know, she missed Chris, and, you know, she even wrote him a letter saying that how much she misses him and how she wished she could see him, and, you know, she'd just been so lonely without him and whatnot. Of course, Suzette and her mom Marcella and them was really trying to console her and whatnot, but, you know, I believe she was very inconsolable at that time, because all she wanted to be with was with Chris, you know. So finally one day Selena had it. She done had it. She's like, nah, I'm not about to sit up here and let anybody tell me, a grown-ass woman. I'm pretty sure she didn't say it like this, but this is just how I would have said it, you know what I mean? But she just said, you know what, I had it. Like, I'm not about to sit there and let my parents or anybody tell me who I can love or who I can be with and whatever. So I don't know how true this is, because the movie and the series kind of explained it differently, all right, on how they ran off and got married. I have to probably read Chris's book again, and yeah. So finally Selena came to Chris and was like, hey, you know, I can't be without you. I want to be with you. You're it for me. Let's just go get married. Because, you know, if we were to get married, my dad can't say nothing to us. You know, he has no choice but to allow us, even though allow will be the incorrect term because they're both grown adults. But at that time, Chris was like, you know, are you crazy? Like, don't you want to have a wedding, a big wedding where your dad can give you away with the big white dress and bridesmaids and stuff like that? She's like, yeah, we can do that at a later time, but you know what, let's just go down to the courthouse and let's just get married. Let's just do it. You know what I mean? So that's exactly what they did. So literally April 2nd of 1992 was when Chris and Selena tied the knot. And what they didn't fail to realize is that word was going to get back to Abraham and the rest of her family that they got married, which they did. And they found out that same day. And of course, like I said, in the series, like, Suzette was like on this kick about like, well, I should have been there. You know, we both said we were gonna be each other's bridesmaids, maid of honors, blah blah blah. You know, I should have been there when you got married, blah blah blah. Despite the fact of how everybody feels or how dad feels about y'all's relationship, I should be there because we both blah blah blah. I was like, Suzette, I'm thinking to myself like, Suzette, you ain't worth a damn, because you were the one who snitched to Abraham, y'all's dad, about the relationship to begin with. Like, you are a freaking snake, ma'am. You are a snake. Come on now. She really ain't got no room to be talking about nobody, nothing like that, about being at somebody's wedding or whatever. Like, you was a snitch. You was supposed to have your sister's back, girl. What is wrong with you? And you want to complain about not being there when your sister got married, when you was the main one that was snitching. You was the main one that snitched to y'all's daddy at that. Like, come on. You cannot be for real right now. You know? Oh man, Selena better than me, because believe me, if I saw that my sister snitched on our dad about my relationship with a dude that he didn't want me to be with, oh, I would never talk to her. because she ain't loyal. She ain't loyal. I don't care how, I mean, I guess, you know, family's family or whatever, but I really can't trust a family member who snitches. That's just me. That is just me for real. Like, I could never. I could never. Ever. So yeah, yeah, they all got wind about Selena getting married, and lo and behold, as Selena predicted, as Selena has said, that if they were to get married, Abraham ain't got a choice but to accept the fact that, you know, that they're going to be together, and that's it, that's all. So yeah, Abraham came around and accepted Chris into the family and stuff like that, and they went on to, you know, Chris came back in the band, and they went back to performing, doing tours, doing gigs and stuff like that, and everything was cool. Everything was cool after that. So Chris and Selena are married, and they're living their happy, blissful life. Initially, they were supposed to move into Selena's apartment or to an apartment together, but by that time, Abraham had bought 3 houses. AB and his family lived in one house, and he had another house available next door to his and Marcella's. So he's like, hey, why don't y'all just move into the house right here, you know, this and that, third, you know, this apartment, this, you know. And I think he did that on purpose so he can really keep it, even though he said that he accepted Chris and Selena's relationship, now marriage. I still think he did it on purpose, just to keep an eye on them and try to pretty much spy on them, because and Selena has stated too that even though her and Chris were living in their own house, they were living next door to her parents and so on, she didn't like that very well. She did not like that. I know Abraham was still wanted to spy on her and pretty much keep an eye on her, whatever. Well, I mean, that's just so BS right there. But I mean, at least they had a house, living together. But still, you know what I mean. I know eventually, like Selena has said, that they eventually were going to move away from her parents, you know. But everything was pretty much a bliss between her and Chris, nonetheless. Now, I think when they were performing in Monterrey, Mexico, Abraham advised Selena to not disclose to her fans and whatnot in Mexico that she was married, because Abraham had this thought that if she were to disclose to everybody that she was married, that her fans wouldn't like her anymore. She wouldn't have that much fans. She wanted to, Abraham wanted Selena to have this mystery about her. You know, he wanted Selena to have this certain image, this certain mystery about her that none of her fans knew about. He wanted Selena to remain a mystery to everybody, you know what I'm saying? But realistically, that's not going to happen, because Selena was already a big star. And even if she didn't outright tell her fans and the audience and whatnot that she was married, they would have found out eventually, because, you know, she was a big star. They're going to know, you know, if they was really like that, they could have dig deep and be like, oh yeah, she's married. But I'm glad Selena was honest with her fans, because one thing about her is that she did not like to lie, even though she did lie by omission during the times her and Chris were secretly seeing each other. But still, at the same time, she did not want to lie to her fans, because that would be her not being, you know, not being her true self, you know. So I think now, see, in the series, the Selena series on Netflix, she was performing in Mexico, and she was introducing everybody. She was introducing all the members in the band to the audience, like, hey, this is my brother who plays the bass, this is my sister who plays the guitar, this is Pete who does the backup vocals and the backup dancer, blah blah blah, and this is Ricky Vela, who plays the keyboard, and this is also Joe Ojeda. I really think that's how you pronounce his name. I don't know, but he also plays the keyboard. And then lastly she introduced Chris. Like, this is Chris. He's the lead guitar, but he's not just the lead guitar of the band. He is also my husband. And man, and like I said, this is what happened in the series. She's like, everybody in the audience was booing, like, booing at Chris, blah, 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 blah. And finally, she's like, y'all ain't about to do that, because she said, now, if I was married to any of y'all out there in that audience, y'all would not be booing. So come on now, show some respect to my husband. Ain't none of that. Y'all ain't gonna do that. Now, that was in the series, but she did actually say that in real life. I don't remember if it was during a concert. I believe it was. I could be wrong, but yeah, she kind of shut that down quick. Like, y'all ain't about to disrespect my husband in that manner. Period. Point blank. So fast forward to chapter 11. Chris talks about how he first met Yolanda, aka Selena's assailant, but at one point Selena's fan club president, and also she considered Yolanda a really good friend at one point in her life. Chris has stated that he only met Yolanda briefly, and that was during the time that him and Selena were dating on the low, and he really didn't say, not even 3 words to her at one time. He would say hi, and then, hey, how are you, whatever, and that was just it. Yolanda, before she became Selena's fan club president, she worked as a registered nurse. She worked at a doctor's office, and she ended up getting let go because she was stealing from the doctor that she worked for. Specifically, she was stealing money from the doctor that she worked for. But and I really feel like that Abraham didn't really do a full background check on Yolanda. Like I said earlier, Yolanda did proposition Shelley Lair's father to start a fan club for her, but he shut that down immediately. And I think they sensed that there was something off about Yolanda, so they did the right thing for that. But also, but then later on, Yolanda reached out to Abraham and Suzette to start a fan club. And I remember I've heard different stories on this one, that Yolanda was pestering Abraham and Suzette, trying to call around anybody that was close to Selena or the band to try to get a fan club together. But here's the kicker, though. Here is the kicker. And this is not in Chris's book, but Yolanda initially did not like Selena, because for the simple fact that prior to Selena coming on to the Tejano scene, Tejano music was mostly just men, consisted of men, whether they're solo artists or they were in bands or groups, you know what I mean? So she didn't like the fact that Selena, a woman, was dominating the Tejano music world. And I like to think that Yolanda was plotting from the very beginning to pretty much sabotage Selena's life. I really think that. I really honestly believe that Yolanda was plotting from day one. Yolanda started out as working as the fan club president to Selena's fan club. Whenever fans were write into the fan club, they will write these letters, and they were supposed to get like an autographed picture or a t-shirt or whatever, to to them or whatever. And Yolanda actually did it for free. You know, they didn't, you know, Abraham didn't pay her, Selena, nobody paid her. She was wanting to do this this fan club thing for free. And she was living in San Antonio at one point, but eventually moved to Corpus to be closer to Selena. And of course, to be more closer to her fans. She had she had fans everywhere, everywhere. But like the closest was for the simple fact Selena was raised in Corpus Christi. You know, that's where she was. But Yolanda moved out there and started the fan club there. And for the simple fact that she ran the house, Abraham. And of course, Selena was very impressed on how well she ran the fan club, not knowing that the stuff that the fans was supposed to be getting, whether it's a picture, autograph picture, a t-shirt or whatever, they weren't receiving it. And they paid all this money to join the fan club and whatnot, to get all the Selena merchandise and whatever, but they didn't receive anything. But they didn't even see that part yet. So Selena eventually opened her own salon / boutique called Selena, etc. And she appointed Yolanda as the manager of her business. She had one in Corpus, and then she had one in San Antonio. And prior to her passing, she was working on opening up a boutique in Mexico. She was in the works for that. Yolanda was handling the books and handling any type of things that the boutique and the salon needed. Which, you know what? And this is why I love Selena too, because she inspired me. Because, like, you know, I'm an aspiring makeup artist, that's one of my goals and one of my dreams, is to open up like a salon / boutique. And, you know, here in Ohio and where I'm living at, I would love to do that one day. But anyway, Yolanda was pretty much running the business pretty smoothly, from what Selena has seen. She was running she was running the boutique very smoothly at first. But then that's when things took a turn for the worse. The very last chapter Chris named is The Day the World Stopped. And it was really a hard time for everybody. So when Selena kind of like brushed everybody off that was coming to her complaining about Yolanda, they went straight to Abraham and complained to him. And Abraham, knowing the man that he is, he took action, like literally took action. So then he started gathering some evidence and stuff like that, and Yolanda was writing phony checks and pretty much stealing money from Selena boutiques, from Selena's boutiques, and putting it in these fictitious stuff, and these like forged checks or whatnot, for just stupid stuff. You know what I mean? She would just buy all this luxurious stuff from the money that she stole from Selena's boutiques. And of course, Abraham found out about it, and summoned Selena and told her what was going on. And, you know, of course, she told her dad, like, Dad, you always suspicious of everybody. Yolanda would never do this. Like, she's not that kind of person that would do this. But once Abraham showed her them damn receipts, AKA the evidence of what Yolanda was doing, she couldn't believe it. And finally, they all, Abraham, Suzette, and Selena all confronted Yolanda on what they came across as far as her stealing from Selena's, not just her boutique, but not giving fans what they want when she was running the fan club. Whenever fans were complaining that they didn't receive their autographed picture or a t-shirt or something of Selena memorabilia or whatever, none of the fans received that. And Abraham kind of let her know, like, hey, you know, where's all this money that you stole from the boutiques, and where's all this stuff that these fans are supposed to be getting from the fan club that you were running? Like, what's going on? Of course, Yolanda denied it all and was like, no, I would never do this. I love Selena. I would never do anything to hurt her. I would never steal from her and stuff like that. And she was going to prove them wrong, that she wasn't doing what they were accusing her of doing, even though they had the evidence right there in black and white. Goes to show you how much of a narcissist Yolanda is, don't you think? So after finding out that Yolanda lied about her essay and stuff like that, when the doctors didn't find any evidence of it, Selena told Yolanda, you know what, I don't have time for this. I have a recording to go to, and I'm already running late. I'm gonna take you back to the hotel. I need those papers. Stop playing with me. Just give me my documents that I need to file these taxes. I ain't got time to be playing these games with you. All right. So what she do? She drives Yolanda back to the hotel and stuff like that. And she asked her. This was in the series too. She said, "Hey, before we go up in here, do you have everything that I need to file these taxes? Everything from my perfume samples to everything needed. I need them." So Yolanda claimed that she did, and so she follows Yolanda to her hotel room and stuff like that. And like I said, nobody really knows what went on in that room. All I know, well, not me because I wasn't there, but from what the housekeeper and the maintenance guy has saw and witnessed, they said there was a lot of arguing, there was a lot of yelling and screaming and whatnot. Then all of a sudden you hear a loud bang, and then you see Selena running out of Yolanda's hotel room, and pretty much running to the lobby and yelling for help and whatnot. Now Yolanda halfway chased her, but and everybody thought, well, the people that witnessed it, the maintenance guy and the housekeeper, all said that they thought that she was going to end up shooting her again or something. You know what I mean? So Selena makes it to the lobby at the hotel, and the manager found her, and another person that worked at the hotel called the ambulance on, to report a woman being shot and was bleeding out everywhere and stuff like that. Now Chris has stated the day that this happened, he was grocery shopping with his father and whatnot, or he was doing something with his dad. His dad was in town in Corpus, because mind you, his dad lived in San Antonio, but his dad was in Corpus to spend time with Chris and Selena and stuff like that, because he was staying with them during his visit. Chris was, running errands with his dad and whatnot, and he gets home, and he gets home, checks his messages, and was kind of like, a couple other people were leaving messages saying, hey, Selena was in an accident. First, he didn't believe him, because he has stated that him and Selena always get these crazy calls from people trying to stir up some BS or whatever, until he gets on his Aunt Dolores's voicemail, and he ends up calling her back, and she tells him like, hey, Selena was in a bad accident and you need to go to the hospital right now. And I mean right now. So Chris, he figured, now Chris first thought that maybe Selena was in a car accident, because Selena was very adventurous, right? And she likes fast things, like with the motorcycle and the driving their car real fast up and down the street in their neighborhood and stuff like that. He might have thought that maybe she was in an accident or something, or maybe probably just a minor fender bender or something. But he didn't really think nothing of it, but he still went to the hospital anyway, and to see what was going on with his wife, as he should. So Chris gets there, he gets to the ER, and somebody told him to go to the area where Selena and the rest of her family, not Selena, but Selena's family, Abraham, Marcella, Suzette, AB, this is from Chris's accord, AB slipped away to grieve quietly. So all he saw was Abraham, Marcella, and Suzette. And of course his dad was there with him. And Chris asked Abraham and everybody, like, hey, what's going on? Like, is Selena okay? Like, what's going on? So Abraham finally like broke down and was like, hey, Selena is gone. She was shot. She's gone. And of course, like anybody else, Chris was shocked. He was stunned. He froze. He was like, what? My wife is gone? Are you serious? And of course, you know, nobody wants to believe at first that their loved one is gone. No one wants to believe that. I mean, I sure wouldn't believe it if it was one of my loved ones that was now gone, no longer here. I mean, I remember when my uncle called me. Well, he didn't call me. He reached out to me on Facebook and told me to call him. And when I called him, he broke the news to me about my dad passing away. I didn't want to believe it. So I get where Chris is coming from when it came to that, because nobody wants to believe that the one that they love, whether it's your significant other or a family member that you are close with, you don't want to believe that they're no longer here on this earth. You know, I know Chris was really going through it, and the rest of Selena's family were like, oh my God, I can't believe she's gone. Like this is so unreal. Like this is so unreal. And I knew Chris was really going through it for a while, and he had to like get that process into him, that his wife was no longer here. Of course, the doctor came out and told Chris that he had to identify his wife's body because he was the next of kin. I guess you say next of kin because he is her husband. So he had to identify her and to make sure that that was his wife, and that had to have been a horrible thing to do. So when Chris leaves the hospital, well, his dad drives him back home from the hospital after learning of his wife's passing. Chris was very distraught, and who's to say I blame him? I mean, he just lost his wife. When he came home, he saw that Selena left everything as it was. Like, she had a couple clothes hanging around here and there. The glass that she drank out of, that morning or whatever, was still right there in the kitchen, and other things that were just lingering around the she was just there the night before. They were spending time together, and at this point, Chris has said that his favorite memory with Selena was the night before she passed. And he says that because they were really at a good space and in a good place in their marriage, because way prior to that, during the mid part of their marriage, they were having some issues and they contemplated divorce and stuff like that, but they were able to work through it and stay together. So when it came to that point, to where they were together that very last time, Chris really treasured that time with Selena. So for him, and then he literally thought that, okay, me and Selena are now in a better place in our marriage. We can move forward. We can start our family, like we talked about, have our 5 kids, and live in our house on the hill, looking over the sea and the ocean and all these animals, and our kids, running around free with the animals and whatnot, And now that he knows that that's not going to happen because Selena's no longer here, So I really do feel his pain in that. I mean, even though my husband is still alive and breathing, but I can't imagine losing him so soon. I mean, him and I, the 16th of November will be our wedding anniversary. So I could never imagine losing my husband in that manner. And I can't imagine what Chris went through, you know. I know that he still grieves her, even though Selena's been gone nearly 30 years. Nearly 30 years that Selena's been gone, and I know he still grieves her, because one thing I learned about grief from my therapist is that you still grieve the loss of your loved one, despite the fact, regardless of how long they've been gone, you still grieve. But what you do is that you just learn to cope. So that concludes my review on this book. Once again, this book will always be dear to my heart. This memoir will always be dear to my heart, and I absolutely will. I swear, if I ever meet Chris in person, if he were to ever watch this video, I swear, Chris, if you are watching this, if you come across my video, you rock, dude. You absolutely are amazing. I mean, you know, from what other people have said about you, who's met you in person, you seem like a really nice guy or whatever. And if you are watching this, if you come across this, you are amazing. You are really cool. And maybe if I ever meet you in person one day, you can probably autograph my book. You know, who knows what the future holds. But yes, you guys, if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. Please feel free to subscribe to my channel and let me know in the comments your thoughts of this book, if you got it, if you read it, if you listened to it, or whatever. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, all right? But y'all be safe out there and take care.